United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres said the unfolding humanitarian crisis in Rakhine could cause regional instability and radicalization. He said this at a meeting with the leaders of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, on the sidelines of its summit in the Philippines on the 13th of November 2017. Meanwhile, UN Chief Antonio Guterres urged Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi to allow Rohingyas to return to Myanmar. He said this when they met today in Manila. Here is a report by Mahbub.
The United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has stressed the urgency of attempts needed to end the appalling plight of Rohingya people. He said this on 13th November 2017 at a meeting on the sidelines of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, in the Philippines capital of Manila. The UN chief said the ongoing humanitarian crisis can cause regional instability and radicalization.
I cannot hide my deep concern with the dramatic movement of hundreds of thousands of refugees from Myanmar to Bangladesh. It is a worrying escalation in a protracted tragedy and a potential source of instability in the region and radicalization. The United Nations welcomes constructive approaches by ASEAN, including the provision of humanitarian aid to northern Rakhine. Since the beginning of the crisis and beyond the end of violence, I have called for unhindered humanitarian access to affected communities and the right to safe, voluntary and dignified return of those who fled to their places of origin.
On 14 November 2017, the UN chief Antonio Guterres met Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi and urged her to take steps to ensure dignified return of hundreds of thousands of Rohingyas who have fled to Bangladesh. Before that, Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi assured her fellow Southeast Asian leaders in Manila that Myanmar was already taking steps to address the plight of the Rohingya people. Presidential spokesperson Hari Roque said this to the reporters on 13th November 2017. Roque said Suu Kyi gave the assurance during the closed-door plenary session of the ASEAN summit after two ASEAN leaders raised the Rohingya issue.
I would also like to know if the ASEAN-US summit also touched on the plight of the Rohingya.
Myanmar specifically said, number one, that they are in the process of attending to the Kofi Annan report, that they welcome humanitarian assistance, and that the process of repatriation for IDPs will conclude within 3 weeks after signing of a memorandum of agreement or understanding with Bangladesh.
Reuters said Myanmar army has replaced the general in charge of Rakhine state. The move comes ahead of a visit on 15th November 2017 by US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, who is expected to deliver a stern message to Myanmar generals. Meanwhile, the formal meeting of 5-day-long border conference between the border guard Bangladesh BTV and Myanmar Police Force MPF began today in Myanmar's capital, Naypyidaw. Director General of the BGB, Major General Abul Hussein, led 14-member Bangladesh delegation, while Police Brigadier General Mayo Sa Wing led 15-member Myanmar delegation in the conference. Mahbub, Bangladesh Television.